Where is he?
Where are you? Skull Rock. Do you know it?
Hello, everyone. We are broadcasting live from Skull Rock. You are joined by Stacy and
Megan. Hello. Welcome back to our podcast. Welcome back to, I think it's our 6th episode. It's been almost a month of the Skull Rock broadcast. So happy 1 month anniversary. That's so exciting. How are you this morning?
I'm very good, darling. Looks like it's snowing outside, but that's January for you. Hard to believe that we've been doing this for a month, and just really gotta shout out everybody who's been listening and supporting us. You guys rock. How are you doing, Megan?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for listening. We have really enjoyed everybody's support so far, and I'm doing great too. I kind of miss the snow. I'm jealous it's snow. It's just raining here, and the snow with Leia was so much cleaner because it didn't actually make her wet when she went outside and played.
It did look mystical.
It was so pretty, and she would go outside and run around and not get muddy. She would come in and be clean. So I miss the snow a little bit. Hopefully we get a little bit more snow this winter before it's over. But we are super excited about our episode today. We've been wanting to do this episode for a few weeks now, and we're finally getting a chance to talk about one of our other favorite characters in Stranger Things and our favorite cast members, and that is Robin and Maya Hawke. So we are very excited.
Oh, I'm pumped. I loved Robin the moment she graced the screen and said, "Dingus, your children are here." So yeah, I cannot wait to talk about her.
That scene where she's opening the window too, was that the first scene, or was
Steve is the one that opens the window when he goes,
"Oh,
seriously
you're right,
again."
you're right.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that scene too.
She's the one
She's
actually
at the cash
working.
register. Yeah, she's the one working, and he opens the window.
Steve's eating bananas out back, I guess. I don't know.
So we first meet Robin, like we said, at Scoops Ahoy in, what's the mall called? Starcourt Mall.
Starcourt, yeah.
In season 3. And like we said, she, right off the bat, hilarious, and just plays off of Joe Keery, Steve Harrington so well. And we've talked about that a ton, I guess, in our Steve Harrington episodes that I feel went on forever.
Yeah, they were a whole epic saga, yeah.
But what were some of your favorite scenes for Robin in season 3?
Well, it's funny because I grew up watching her parents, Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman. Big fans of their movies. And I remember when it first aired in 2019, I knew that they had children together, but I had no idea that their daughter acted. So I'm watching it, the first episode, and I'm going, she looks familiar. And then right away, I did what everybody else does, went on the IMDb, had to look her up, and I went, oh my God, that's Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke's kid. She looks just like her mom. And I got to tell you, I rewatch every season religiously, but it's just that was just the perfect missing piece of the puzzle, adding Robin in to season 3. I know originally they kind of were going in the direction of her possibly being a love interest for Steve, but then Maya was the one who brilliantly spoke up and was like, how about this instead? But I just love how right off the bat, she's just full of sass. Her nickname for, Steve is Dingus, and that they're wearing these humiliating uniforms. They're doing what we all did as teenagers, working, shitty job, making $2 an hour. And just the chemistry between them is so, so good. But I really, really love that scene where, she's just almost her rapport with Steve, especially when Dustin comes and they do their lightsaber greeting. And she's like, how many children are you friends with? Just the monotone, deadpan kind of sarcasticness. And I really liked that she used her brain. She was the one that cracked the code, and Steve at first is she's in band and she's still in school. And that's a bad look. And he's just listing it all off. And I love that Dustin's well, she actually sounds pretty awesome. And I just like how right away she's like, I'm bored. I'll literally translate the Russian alphabet for you. That's
Yeah.
pretty classic, you know?
Yeah. She's so smart to really kind of be able to pick up on those languages so quickly. And I can't remember if it was the first time that I watched or kind of like noticing it on rewatches, but I know there's kind of the idea that like Robin could have been sort of a spy because why would
Mhm.
she know Russian? Like, why would she be able to figure this out? So I just thought that was kind of
That
I'm
is
always
interesting.
suspicious. I'm always suspicious of new characters like
Yep.
that come in like season 3 of a show because and I was like that with Eddie at the beginning of
Oh,
season
yeah.
4. Like, is this person going to be more of a
A bad guy, yep.
villain, a bad guy? So with her being able to kind of pick up that language so quickly and it was a little suspicious for me at first, but I mean, we fell in love with her for
Oh,
sure,
yeah.
and just like we fell in love with Eddie in season 4.
And I think that has to do with the actors too. I think they hit gold hitting these actors, you know, Maya Hawke,
Yeah.
Joseph Quinn, but like the scene of her being like "Adide, duode, demide," whatever the hell it is, and they're like, "Oh my god, holy shit!" And she's like, "That's pig Latin," and just Steve going idiot hitting Dustin with the banana. But I'd have to say like really my top moments would be the confession scene when she's tied up with Steve. Like, first of all, what a terrifying like ordeal, you know, between the elevator and then finding out that there's Russians, you know, underneath. But I really liked them tied together with John Harrison's score from Day of the Dead playing and him at first thinking she's crying and he's trying to comfort her and her giving this big speech, which I could see being a little misleading, you know, and her just talking about how she was obsessed with him and stuff. And just like right away when she goes, "You don't even remember me from that class, do you? I sat behind you 2 days a week." And just kind of like, he looks so shamed on his face. But between that and like just her concern for him, like at first it was almost like a sibling annoyance kind of relationship, them bickering back and forth. But when he gets knocked out and she like runs to him, going like, "Steve, what did you do to him?" Your heart breaks. So I really like that they went from serious to them high as kites, arguing whether or not it's Indy 300 or Indy 500, which do you even know what it is? I have no idea.
No, I have no idea.
We'd be having the same argument, man.
Yeah, we totally would. Yeah, but I mean, their acting in that whole end of the season when they're being tortured and then they're drugged, but it's horrible what is happening to them, but
Hmm.
you can't help but like laugh at times
Yeah.
because of just how they're kind of acting and how their characters kind of like come to light in that. And I think sometimes people forget how terrible what they went through was because the show
Hmm.
kind of portrays it in a light-hearted way almost,
Exactly. Yep.
so that it's not super dark. But if if that was real life, like you would be traumatized for
You'd be
sure.
messed up. Could you imagine? Like, I was an idiot at 17. If I discovered a Russian bunker, I'd be dead, you know,
Yeah,
but I like that they kind of trauma bonded through this. You know, of course, we had the amazing scene of her coming out and her really like, you know, almost like getting a brother and he's getting a sister out of her in that relationship. But I do like that we see a little hint. Now, I do love sassy, sarcastic Robin, okay?
yeah,
And like I
absolutely.
said, you know, she discovered the Russian code. I liked her rapport with all the characters. But, you know, even her, like, you know, going, "Didn't you already, you know, try the peppermint stick?" But just these little one liners. But we get to see a little flash of her personality that comes out. And I originally was arguing with people. I was like, I don't know. This seems like, you know, it's still awesome, but she seems really different. And a lot of people were like, well, now she's comfortable with these characters. So you see like a smidge of her from her personality from season 4 when 11 hurts her leg. And she's talking about Beth Wildfire and how she got hurt during soccer and the bone was sticking out. She's just spiraling and rambling. You kind of get to see that nervousness in her,
Yeah.
which kind of segues for, you know, season 4. But probably my all time favorite scene is her applying for family video with Steve. And
Yeah. That's just such a
So
good,
good.
yeah, such a good transition too of the season 3 into the season 4 Robin
Hmm.
and Steve, like, because their personality in that scene really kind of like gets leveled up, I guess, what you get to see of their
Exactly.
personality.
It's
Yeah.
only a few months later, and you see they already like kind of have a friendship or relationship going, and it's still the same rapport going back and forth. But I love that she names all these classic great movies, and Steve can't even name three, which I love the meme that went around for a while. It said, if you ever feel down on yourself, think Steve Harrington was able to crack a Russian code and get into a Russian bunker and escape alive, but he couldn't name three movies to get a job at a video store. So there you go.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
just perfection.
A few episodes ago, you mentioned Robin cracking a music code, and we'll talk more about that
Mm,
in season 4. But when I was re-listening and I was like, wait, but Steve cracked the music code. And I was thinking of season 3 though,
yep.
because Robin
The
cracked
horse.
the code with the language, but Steve was the one
Oh,
that heard the
the
music in
Indiana
the
Flyer.
secret message. Yes.
Holy shit. I didn't
Yeah,
even realize that. So it's almost like switched on its head.
exactly.
She definitely was a well-loved addition to the cast. It was just the perfect person to play off with Joe Keery. She's very talented. And like you said, she was really young when she did this. She was like probably 19 when they filmed it. And it's
Yeah.
just a staple now around Halloween, seeing people in Scoops Ahoy outfits. I want to ask you, like, what were your favorite scenes once she became a little more established in season 4?
Yeah, let's talk about season 4. So, I obviously love the season 4 opening for Steve and Robin. I feel like it's just as iconic as the season 3 opener, if not more. So they're driving in the car. They're both kind of like spiraling in their own way. Steve stressing about his love life, Robin stressing about her love life, the whole boobies conversation. And I mean, I just now have to think of like the blooper that they released where
Oh my God.
it's like we're gonna have the reel of us saying boobies, 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 boobies. But Steve driving her to school, and like we've mentioned before, like not even knowing later in the season that she doesn't have a license. Like, why are you driving her to school then?
I love that. Love that.
But then we get to see her at the basketball game and in the marching band, which is, I mean, like Steve said, like not a good look. It's a great look for her.
It's a great look. Come on, Steve.
Just like a different kind of nerdy, because I feel like the show kind of portrays all those different like
Yeah.
stereotypes in high school too. But we do get to see her with Vicky, and we know
Mhm.
that Vicky is going to be potentially again in season 5, because we've
Yep.
seen the actress that plays her in the photo for the table read. Vicky's laughing at her joke about the Muppet, I think.
Yes, that's it. Yep.
Then we see her at Family Video. So
Hmm.
love getting to see them at their place of work. Obviously, we don't get to see them as much at their place of work as we did in season 3,
Yeah.
but they were so cute, and just like it's kind of a weird conversation, but like the conversation where they were talking about how they wish they could combine.
The
Like,
look on Steve's face, he's like, wait, what? Yeah. Hmm.
but yeah, I just love getting to see her interact with the rest of the group a little bit more, because we got to see her interact with Dustin and Erica in season 3, but she gets to meet Max a little bit more. She gets to interact with Eddie, which I know we both love.
Hmm.
When they go to find Eddie and they find him in the boathouse, you were saying uh, that she's sort of comforting him. Yeah, like saying like I went through this before too. And then I love getting to see her interact with Nancy. So the whole library scene
So
is
because we all kind of
hilarious.
we all kind of felt like Nancy a little bit, like, oh my God, shut up. But it's just they play off each other so well, and I love that right away. When Nancy's like, well, why doesn't Steve just go and pick you up? Which I'm like, okay, Nancy, calm down. But I love that right away the platonic with a capital P comes out, That just, I don't know, I always laugh at that scene.
Yeah, and I think Natalia does a great job with that acting in that scene too, because isn't there the one shot where she's like looking at
Yep.
Robin like what
Looking at
is
all
wrong
the
with you?
newspaper slides. Yep.
Yeah. But then obviously when they go to Penhurst and she has to wear Nancy's clothes.
Let's talk about her outfit for a moment. Like her walking in heels is kind of like me walking in heels.
Yeah,
Like,
oh, same.
dude, so good. And I love her speech to the head of the hospital. Like, talk about that's the real Barbie speech, ladies and gentlemen. Her being like,
Yeah.
these aren't even my clothes, and just losing it. I love that her nervous rambling gets them in to see. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah, definitely. That was a good moment. And like you said, her figuring out the clue with the
Mm-hmm.
song, which ended up helping Steve save Max,
Yep.
was a good moment there. Oh, and classic, like the four of them in the boat on Lover's Lake. Like that whole
Love.
scene definitely has my heart, but like when she grabs the cigarette out of Eddie's mouth.
Gross. And just the
I
look
kind
of horror.
I kind of hated her for that though. Like, let the man have like his
Yeah.
vice for a second. This is a stressful moment.
I'm like, Steve Harrington is shirtless in front of him. Let him have his moment. Let him have a smoke. I really
Yeah.
love the way she gets onto the boat too. And it took me so many rewatches when Steve offers a hand and she goes, I'm just going to do this. And she puts her palms down on the top of their heads and steps into the boat. Just little subtle things like that. And her going like, Dustin, your compass is going, wacky with a capital, little things like that. Her plugging her nose, falling
Yeah,
backwards.
falling
I'm like,
backwards into the water.
that's what I would
And
do.
she's like arguing with Eddie at that moment, like
Hmm.
like he doesn't want her to go. He's like,
She's
but
in charge.
you said she's in charge.
I really loved their chemistry, her and Joseph Quinn. They only had a few moments really, really together, but there's a subtle moment at Skull Rock and the Upside Down when she's just a klutz and, the earthquake hits and he grabs her before she goes ass over tea kettle and actually, takes the blunt of the, freaking fall. But also I'd have to say my favorite moment is the famous, I don't know what those stains are, the look that Maya Hawke gives.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite moment in the whole show with those two. I was
Facial
like,
expressions on the both of them in that scene are
so good.
hilarious. Yeah, definitely. So she's such a huge part of season 4.
I can't wait to see what they're going to do. Obviously, in the last, few episodes, we got to see her, go into the Upside Down. And I love the whole, what does he want us to do? Applaud? They just have such a sibling relationship, her and Steve.
Yes.
But, it also made my heart break when the vines grab her and she calls out for Steve and Nancy because she's terrified.
Yeah.
But we get to see her almost be a badass while Nancy's wielding the shotgun. She's throwing the Molotov cocktails. So, we get to see her. We get to kind of see a nice moment with her and Vicky at the end, a little hopeful, but there's this subtle moment, which her as a character by herself is amazing, but I really do love her with Steve, their friendship. It's when the pizza van shows up and Nancy and Jonathan embrace, and you just see Steve, and it's like a fraction of a second of a shot. He looks so heartbroken. And Robin's rubbing his back. It's okay.
Yeah. She's
it's
there
all right.
for him. And it's funny, I also like their conversation where they're making the Molotov cocktails and they're talking about Steve is so hyper focused on Vicky and Robin
Trying to
being
make her
sad
feel
about
better.
Vicky. Yeah. And Robin's like, Steve, not everything is about our love lives.
Mhm.
It's a little bit more than that. And it definitely, I think, reflects Robin's kind of role as it's more than just the love triangle and the relationships, and their friendship is deeper than that, and the end of the world kind of that's happening kind of trumps these silly love triangles. So
Exactly. I think that's such a great moment, and I'm so glad you picked that out. The whole Henry/1/Vecna. You know, you get
Yeah.
to see these moments between these two really good friends. And she even says it. She's like, I just have a really funny feeling about this, but we have to try. Nobody else will. And that's why a lot of people are like, dear God, like if something, God forbid, happens to one of them, you better take them both out because
Right.
I can't stomach it.
Yeah. Same as what I've said with like Steve and Dustin. Like I don't
Oh my
think
God. Yep.
like I can't see either one of them being able to cope with the loss of the other, and exactly the same with Robin and
Yeah.
Steve. Like tearing them apart would just be like
Oh,
cruel.
terrible.
Yeah.
And that's why I got like, and I know you and I, we were like kids in a candy store when Ross Duffer released that photo of Joe Keery and Maya Hawke in their costumes.
Mhm.
And we kind of were like, oh, is that a radio station? It's just so nice to see them together. And we don't know what their storyline's going to be like. We don't know if it's going to be a job, a hangout, whatever. But just seeing them together, these two actors that work so well with each other, I cannot wait to see whatever they have planned because the writing of those two characters were brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. So very excited to see what they do with that in season 5.
Which, Megan, do you know? Let's see if you know this. Do you know
Okay.
that Maya Hawke's brother is in Stranger Things?
I did. So it's at the video store
Good
when
girl. Yep.
they when they are talking to Max and Dustin come in, and it's funny
Mhm.
because Steve has just been like helping a girl kind of find a movie, and they're like, and Dustin's like, if you would put as much like effort into trying to find Eddie, like rather than finding a girlfriend, and he's like, I treat all the customers the same. And like as he's saying that, like Maya Hawke's brother is walking into the video store.
Little cameo, this is what really makes you feel your age. I remember like Uma Thurman, I think she was pregnant before filming Kill Bill and with her Maya Hawke's brother. And I remember reading about it. And now he's a full grown adult. And I'm just like, what
Does
is
that make you
time?
feel old?
I'm ready for the freaking home right now. I'm like, are you kidding me? She's had quite a career already, too, for being so young.
She has. So let's talk a little bit about Maya and other things that she's done. If you scroll IMDb, like I haven't really seen a lot of them, but
Mhm.
she's been in so many projects with which I feel like you said, yes, she has that advantage of like being a child of Hollywood actors,
Mhm.
but I don't think she really exploits that advantage. She still does things in an authentic way and things that are meaningful to her.
Absolutely. She was one of the few people when that article came out about Nepo babies, and she shared the same opinion that 30 years ago, Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, had. He was like, yes, because of who my parent or parents are, I do have more opportunities than other people have had, but it's up to me to keep that door open. And Maya Hawke basically quoted the same exact thing. She was like, well, I understand I have privileges that other people don't have because my parents are in the industry, but they basically taught me at a very young age, it's up to me and my craft to keep it going. And I think she's already proven that because at 19, her doing what she was doing in season 3, incredible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's funny because, like we said, she was so young. And actually, I think she was a little bit closer to Gaten's age
Isn't
in
that
that
insane?
show than she was to Joe Keery's age because he's like 7 years older than her.
Hmm.
Gaten's only 4 years younger than her. So
That's insane.
just the fact that she could do such a great job with that
Hmm.
role. And I mean, obviously, age doesn't really matter because all of those kids in that show, and they're not even kids anymore, but they're amazing. And we're definitely going to talk more
Oh, yeah.
about all of them as we continue with this podcast because we're just huge fans of all the cast members. But yeah, it's funny that she was closer in age to Gaten than Joe Keery. But what else have you watched that she's been in?
So I recently saw her in the Netflix movie Do Revenge. You actually recommended that to me.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Blown away with how 90s and, like you said, fun it was. It felt like a modern day 10 Things I Hate About You, or like going back to the 80s Heathers. And I don't know, I'm a sucker for really great clothes, even though, most of my, wardrobe is t-shirts with Eddie on them, but literally the costume designs are amazing. And Maya plays a really great, complicated character that you can't help
Yes.
but love. That was a really fun project of hers. And I love that she had a bearded dragon as a pet.
Yeah, that was so random, but
Those things are terrifying.
a fun little touch. Yeah, she did a great job in that movie. And like you said, played a really kind of multifaceted character and got to sort of have a lot of range in like
Mhm.
who she was. She was a little bit of a chameleon. um
Almost like a bearded dragon.
in like the different parts of her character and personality that she played. But that was a lot of fun. And she actually was nominated for an MTV Movie Award for her role in that movie.
Really? I wonder if that was the same year JQ won.
It was. It was the same year that Joseph Quinn won
Best breakout performance or
Best
something?
Breakout Performance. You're right. But she was nominated for Best Duo for Do Revenge with her co-star Camila Mendez.
That's really cool.
I think they were, yeah, definitely a great duo. And I was voting for her all the time for
Oh,
that.
hell yeah.
Since I was on there voting for Joseph Quinn every day anyway.
I was like, man, I
Um,
feel like I'm 15 again. This is so much fun. Simpler days.
And she actually also won a Saturn Award for season 3 of Stranger Things for Best Supporting Actress in a streaming presentation.
That's really cool. Oh
And
my
I know
God.
we kind of followed the Saturn Awards this year
Yeah.
too, because Joseph Quinn was nominated.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been following them for years because I like horror and fantasy.
Yeah.
So that's really cool and well deserved too, because whoever, like, Ross Duffer and the people who do the casting, like I said, she came into a popular show in season 3, just like how Joseph Quinn came in at season 4 and was very well received. Now, that doesn't always happen, but I think, the stars just aligned and she took off the way she did.
Other awards that she won, I have not seen this film, but it was called As They Slept. So it was a Hunter Mountain Film Festival movie.
Okay.
And she won Best Actress in 2019 in
Oh,
that
wow.
film. And she won a Women's Image Network Award for her role in the Little Women miniseries that she was a part of.
Oh, yeah.
So she played Jo March, which I have not seen that miniseries, but I love the story Little Women.
Me
I mean, I
too.
read the book when I was in elementary school, and I remember loving it. Winona Ryder was in the movie. I guess, was that the original movie?
That was the 90s one. So there's one way
Okay.
back in the day with Elizabeth Taylor. Yep.
Okay.
And then there's one in the 90s with Winona. And that was the one I grew up knowing.
Yeah.
So that's awesome that they were kind of, in a different adaptation of the same novel, which is such a good story,
Right. And Fear Street. So was it Fear Street Part 1?
Fear Street Part 1, R.L. Stine, he decided to do like teen books for a while in the 90s. And they decided this was a pretty good idea of theirs. They were like, all right, we're going to adapt and make a little universe. And we're going to do 3 movies and release them all over the course of 1 month during the summer. So they did 1994, 1978, and then like 1666. And she was only in the opening scene of 1994. Reminded me a lot of Drew Barrymore's scene in Scream. It was funny seeing her in a slasher. I am guilty. Now, I know you're not, but I'm a huge slasher and horror fan. And I think everyone will enjoy the story. I saw 78 because it has Sadie in it, who's incredible. That's part 2. That's the like prequel in the 70s. And she's amazing in it. And Maya is in 94 and it's shot in a mall.
I have watched about half of that movie, and I thought it was funny that she was in a mall at the beginning.
Right away, I was like, a Walden Books? I remember those. I never finished it because when I was watching it, summer 2021 when it aired, I was eating Pringles and I took a bite of a Pringle and a huge chip of my Pringle went right into my eyeball. and I panicked and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm like, how will I explain this to the ER? So I spent half the night getting a Pringle crumb, shard of Pringle out of my eyeball. And by then I just lost interest. But
Oh gosh.
only Stacy, all of my hardcore slasher movie and horror fans, friends, yeah, fans, friends.
Your
Let's let's edit that out. That sounded pretentious as fuck. You can keep that in if you want. All my horror movie friends that are fans, there we go. Say that 9 times fast. Jesus. They all said, like, you would love it because it does so many homages to not only the young adult books that we grew up, reading, getting at the book fair, also all these great classic slashers. And
Yeah.
seeing Maya in that kind of role, I thought was fun, especially still staying in the Netflix universe. I thought was really cool. So that was a cool project.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know that I watched it a lot, but it sort of gave me the same vibes as like Are You Afraid of the Dark back in
Very
the day.
90s.
Yeah. Just because I wasn't really into the scary stuff, but I did watch that show once in a while.
But it ended up being a fun movie, the half that I saw before the Pringle incident. So, yeah. You said you saw a little bit of Asteroid City. I haven't caught that yet.
So I started Asteroid City. Apparently it sounds like we like don't finish movies by this
Apparently.
conversation.
You don't have a Pringle as an excuse, though.
I did not have a Pringle as an excuse, but it's long. It's a long movie, and it's a Wes Anderson film. And I don't think I've ever seen a Wes Anderson film, but I know there was like that TikTok trend or Instagram trend for a while when that was coming out of like
Yes.
like making your life like a Wes Anderson movie. But it's such unique cinematography style. What I was thinking as I was watching, it's like there's not a lot of motion. So it's like a picture, like you're looking at a picture, and then the actors are in this scene almost as if it's like a photograph and they're barely moving. So like you go just from like picture to picture, and that's kind of like how I would describe it. So there's not a lot of motion.
Okay.
Sometimes when there is, it's very just like sudden. I know there was like this one scene where a kid like jumped off of a roof and it was just like he just like dropped. But like the camera was not moving, and like the camera's still, and it just drops. Like
the 2 people that work for the school system were cackling over a child falling off a
well,
roof.
and that's so funny that you say that because Maya plays a teacher.
Oh, really?
So she has this little class of kids that she's like taking around in the town, and it's a very interesting movie. I had no idea what the premise was when I watched it, but it's sort of they're putting on a play, and Asteroid City is the play. But when you're watching the Asteroid City scenes, it looks more realistic than when you're seeing like the actual real life. Like when you're seeing the real life stuff of making the play, that looks like a play. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a weird like opposites kind of thing.
That's pretty cool, though. I mean, I'm confused as hell, but yeah, that sounds cool.
So she plays like a character in the play, and they're all in this city where like an asteroid has hit, and there's a lot of kids because it's a competition for different like science nerd type kids.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's funny, and her character is really sweet. She doesn't have a lot of lines, but it's almost like nobody in that movie because there's so many people in it.
It's
like
a stacked cast,
nobody really has a lot of lines. I was like having a hard time figuring out like who's the main character here. So it was a cool project that she got to be a part of. I definitely want to revisit that and finish it up at some point.
She's going to be in Maestro. I know that's out already. Bradley Cooper's new movie. I saw her at the video of her at the premiere. I know she's in that, but does she have anything else coming out soon?
She does have a couple other projects that are pretty cool. So I think this is perfect for her. So I didn't see it. I don't watch a lot of kids like cartoon movies.
Oh my God, I know what you're gonna say. Yep.
She is going to be in the new Inside Out movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the movie where all the emotions are like little characters. And I've heard
Yeah.
it's really good. Like I have a bunch of friends who have kids who watch a lot of these movies.
Love that stuff. Yeah.
And I've heard it's good. So she's going to be voicing the emotion of anxiety. Which
Fitting.
so fitting. Like that's going to be perfect
Perfect.
for her because I mean we know as Robin she has
That's
definitely
Robin
showed that
coded.
she can play anxiety in a very good way. So that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this other cool project that showed up in IMDb when I looked it up, and I don't really know if this is for sure that she's going to be a part of this project, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a film that's in pre-production called Revolver. And
Ooh.
this is a project by, we've mentioned her on the podcast before, Kate Trayfree, who made that short film,
Yes.
How to Be
Yep.
Alone. And
Mm-hmm.
I told you she actually has written on Stranger Things, and she was the writer. I misspoke when I was talking about her for the play, The First Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote that play.
Oh my God.
But she has this screenplay called Revolver,
Mm-hmm.
which is as of yet unreleased, but apparently it's been in the works for a while because I looked and it won some sort of Blacklist award for unreleased screenplays back in
Oh,
like
cool.
2016 or 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And the description here says a devoted Beatles fan attempts to break into the Alaskan hotel the band is staying in with hopes of meeting George Harrison. And apparently it's based on actual events.
That's
So
amazing.
I'm so intrigued by this
Oh yeah.
project because apparently the screenplay is really good. I think Kate is awesome. I think I'm realizing that I'm such a big fan of so many of her projects.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the Beatles. So,
There you go.
and if Maya Hawke is going to be a part of this, that would be amazing. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of that because that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, that sounds like that could be really entertaining. And
Yeah.
going after George too. Wow. All right. Okay. We'll leave it
Interesting
at that.
choice, right?
Interesting choice, you know. More of a Paul gal, but that's okay. One thing I just thought of too, she was on the Dior campaign,
Oh,
same
yes.
as Joseph Quinn, right?
Yep. That was very cool.
With her pink hair, all those commercials looked so cool. And I know that I think it was a couple of months ago, that they were at the same
Fashion
Paris
show.
fashion show. And it was
Mhm.
really cool seeing them sit together and stuff because you're like, oh, it's Eddie and Robin, you know. So
Yeah.
I love that she's got that going on the side too. And like I said, I've mentioned it before. I have the perfume. I'll be bringing it next time I see you, Megan. And it smells nice. So I'm glad they're repping something that, you know, smells great.
Yeah. Well, also coming back to Robin a little bit, she does have one of those tie-in novels. So Rebel Robin. I have not read it, but
No.
just like Eddie got the tie-in novel, Robin had one originally. And I know we were all kind of disappointed that Joseph Quinn did not voice the
Yeah.
narration for the audiobook, but for Rebel Robin, Maya Hawke does do the narration for the audiobook.
That's so cool. I love
So
that.
I've been wanting to listen to it. And there was kind of like a tie-in podcast that they did for that book. So
Oh,
I'm not
cool.
really sure how that works, but I know that there was the book, the audiobook, but then there was also a podcast that Maya Hawke was a part of
Mm-hmm.
as kind of like a companion to the novel. So I've definitely wanted to check that out.
That's really interesting. You know, I would
Yeah.
love to definitely read that because it gives you a glimpse a little bit as a background. And even though it's really not like said out loud, like Robin could be representing, you know, autism, ADHD, OCD, you know, it was the 80s before really that stuff was getting labeled. And I think she's just such a likable character too, you know, and I really love that Maya was the one that fought for her storyline and whatnot. So definitely anything I can find to do more backstory on these characters, I'm all for it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I know that all of the novels are kind of like canon adjacent. Like sometimes the writing of the show might diverge from what happened in the novel. So we kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, because I think what I've heard is that they say in the book that Robin kind of knew Barb also, which I think would have kind
Ooh,
of been an
that
interesting
tracks. Yeah.
friendship to explore. Yeah.
Now you were lucky, which so envious, so envious. You were able to see her in concert because not only is she a fantastic actress, she's also a musician. Can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that?
So similarly to our favorite Jo Keery, she has music projects as well. And I think it's so funny how many of the cast members in Stranger
Mm-hmm.
Things also kind of do music.
Yeah.
But Maya Hawke has a beautiful voice, and
Mm.
I don't know if you've ever listened to any of her songs, but she has 2 albums. The first one came out in 2020 and is called Blush. So I listened to it a few times before I went to see her, and it's very beautiful. I feel like her music has kind of like an ethereal, how do you say that word? Like
Ethereal.
ethereal,
Yep.
yes, kind of sound. And then her 2022 album was called Moss. So a bunch of songs on that album that I'm a huge fan of. Terrace is like a really popular one. Luna Moth is popular. I also really love Sweet Tooth. It's like a fun kind of a fun sound and a fun
Mm-hmm.
kind of upbeat song. But I got to see her perform live at the 930 Club in Washington, D.C. And she did sort of a little bit of a world tour. She was in Europe, I
Oh,
think, and then
wow.
came to a few cities in the States. It wasn't a ton of shows, maybe like
Mm-hmm.
a dozen or so, but it was a pretty wide, like, expanse of places where she went and toured. And I know at the beginning of the tour, she was actually doing meet and greets
Oh my
also,
God.
which a bunch of people in Europe especially got to sort of meet her, talk to her before the show. And that would have been a really cool experience. I didn't buy the meet and greet, and I was like kind of feeling like I was disappointed that I didn't, and then she ended up canceling them. So
Oh, there we go.
I
That works
I was
out.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it all worked out." But I think she said that it was too much for her voice because yeah, she was talking so much with fans, so she had to rest her voice and just kind of did the rest of her shows without the meet and greet aspect, which kind of worked out for me because I didn't get to miss
Yes.
out on it. It was a great show. She's such an interesting performer. You can just kind of like see her personality so that was really cool. And her band was great, and she kind of like interacted so well with like her band members during the show. She had multiple kind of like times where she stopped and kind of talked to the audience. And
Oh,
there was this
nice.
one part where she said she likes to just kind of like improv, make up a song like
Wow.
on the fly. So she would like ask like the audience to just like throw out random words or phrases, and then she kind of like went with it and just literally like wrote a song right in front of us like and sang it.
Damn.
So super talented, super
Yeah.
creative, beautiful voice, such a fun performer. It seemed that she was very comfortable on the stage. She was like
Mm-hmm.
sitting down on the stage, and yeah, it was really awesome to be able to have that experience. And then I did buy a poster
Oh,
that
cool.
was signed, so I do have like an autograph of
Love
her.
that.
So even though I didn't get to meet her, I bought like the signed poster. So that was cool.
Good girl. I love that. Yeah, I'll have to check her music out. Now I'm intrigued, too.
Yes, definitely do.
So, has anything been going on filming-wise with the production so far for season 5?
Yeah, so we haven't had a ton this week, but Stranger Things on their broadcast channel on Instagram released some set photos. So we got some more bulletin boards from the school. We got some lockers. So it seems like they're kind of working on the sets at the high school. We got a picture of like yearbooks.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was cool to see those photos because you just don't even think about sometimes how much detail gets
Yep.
put into those sets. They're just going to be filming scenes, and I'm sure you are just going to get such a quick glimpse at
Mm-hmm.
those lockers. Maybe it's open and somebody's shutting it as they walk away. But like the fact that they put so much work and so much effort into creating this like perfect like background set to the
Yeah.
show. I'm sure it's just a huge task, and the fact that they put that much detail into it is what makes it such an amazing show, I think, or one of the
Hmm.
reasons it's such an amazing show. So it was cool to see those. We had some leaked filming locations, but there was one. It's not really a spoiler because, like we know, Max has been in the hospital.
Yes.
Also, I had seen one of those casting calls a few weeks ago where they were looking
Ooh.
for people to play background extras in um like a medical capacity. So we knew that there were probably going to be some hospital scenes or something like that. So we do have kind of confirmation that they were filming at a hospital set. Hawkins Memorial Hospital was like on the side of the building,
Hmm.
and it looked like there were kind of bikes outside the hospital. I
Mm.
did just see this morning an ambulance. So that was a little
Ooh.
interesting because the fact that an ambulance is pulling up at the hospital, I don't know if it's like a new hospital situation, or we know we've always kind of wanted to see that aftermath of
Hmm.
season 4 with, I'm sure they would be taking people to the hospital. So who knows, but we do know that there are going to be some hospital scenes, which not surprising.
No.
What about merch, Stacey? Is there any new merch?
Ooh. All right. So for merch, and I am pronouncing this the right way, obligated, right?
Yes.
Obligated. Obligated art. They are on Instagram and Twitter, I believe.
They are amazing.
They're probably one of my favorite, favorite, probably top 3 favorite
Fan artists, right?
steady artists. Caught myself. Take a shot every time I say steady, guys.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the new drinking game
it's the
for
new
Skull
drinking
Rock
game.
broadcast.
I'm just like, you know what? I refuse to change. I'm just gonna mispronounce everything. But Obligated Art was an artist that I discovered very early on, and they have this beautiful, beautiful talent of being able to make these gorgeous pieces of both Joe Keery and Joseph Quinn, which are kind of difficult faces to do. And I've followed them for quite some time now. I actually, half of my living room, including my kitchen, it's covered in prints from theirs. And they always do the coolest reels showing their process of how they make their pieces, and they sync it up to just the coolest music. And I would definitely say give them a follow. They have an imprint store, I believe, and they sell their prints. They're really reasonable. But if you are a Stranger Things fan, a Joe Keery fan, uh, a Joseph Quinn fan, or a Steady fan, definitely buy from them because their artwork is downright gorgeous. Like they do pieces based off Cass, or they did a whole series of every season that Steve was beaten up. Like
Like
just
Bloody
really cool.
Steve. Their Bloody
Like
Steve
Steve.
stuff is perfect.
So good. Like, I didn't realize how big a print that I actually bought recently. It was one of their newer prints. It's freaking huge, and I have no idea where I'm gonna hang it. So right now, I just randomly put it in my kitchen, and it's a little erotic, but goes with the theme of the house. It's fine. But Obligated Art, give them a follow. They are so talented.
Yeah, let's definitely continue to shout out some of our favorite fan artists on this podcast for sure. What about the pops? I know there's new pops.
There are new pops. So they released actually a set that's going to be coming out. And a few people were a little upset that it wasn't Steve in the package, it was Dustin. But I kind of get why they did what they did. And
Hmm.
it's the same Robin, Nancy, and Dustin pops, the battle ones that we got. But Eddie, and I'm a sucker. If it's painted differently, I'm a sucker. I'm like, I need it. Take my money. He almost looks like a very pretty shade of blue and red. So there's this long box that's going to be coming out sometime in the spring. But what really got me excited was they're doing another Blacklight Eddie, but instead of him shredding his guitar, it's the same mold as the OG pop that came out that sold out really quick. And this is the one that I instantly thought of you. There is going to be a Steve and Robin Blacklight pop set, and it just looks super 80s and awesome. And I heard it's going to be mid to late February, and those are going to be Target exclusives.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, the blue and the red it's very, and it's him playing the guitar, right?
Mhm.
So
Holding it. Yep.
it's definitely the lighting from that scene from Master of Puppets was like the blue and
Yep.
red kind of lighting. So I get that color scheme and I think it's really cool.
All right. Are you ready for some rapid fire?
I think so.
All right, here we go. Favorite of the OG kids? Which one?
Dustin.
Same.
Yeah, Dustin. I mean, I love all of them so much, but I think Dustin.
I love Dustin. I remember like my sister caught like just a moment of him. This is before she got into the show. I was watching it over her house, and it was when he offers Nancy the sausage and pepperoni pizza. And she was like, "Aw," like she
Yeah,
just was so touched by that. And he kind of gave Goonie vibes, you know?
yeah.
I love Dustin.
So that was cute. And it was like, I don't know. I related to Nancy so much when I first watched the show because I was an older sister and
Hmm.
I have two younger brothers, but like it was just cute like having her younger brother's friend like offering her pizza
Hmm.
like and just kind of saying like, "Oh, she used to be cool. She used to hang out with us and like
Yep.
dress up for our campaign." Like that was kind of like I could totally see that, and like the fact that Dustin like missed her doing that. Oh, and then she danced it with him at the dance at the
I
end
gotta
of,
tell you.
was that season 2?
That's season 2 in that moment because your heart breaks for poor Dustin. But that was I really had to cheer for Nancy in that moment because it was just so touching and so sweet. So I'm really glad they had that moment because Dustin
Yeah.
is just he's the heart, man. I gotta tell
We
you.
need to remember that for, I know we just said we might do an episode with like underrated like friendships and duos.
Mm,
So Dustin and Nancy, like that's definitely one for that episode too.
I
So
like that a lot. All
all
right,
right.
here we go. You can only pick one. Favorite shot. Favorite shot in the entire series.
Okay. So it's because I think it's so impressive. It's the one shot that they did in season 4 in California at their new house. Because have you seen anything like about that shot? I
Yes.
feel like there was like behind the scenes stuff about it, but I don't know. I don't know where I saw that. But it's the shooting scene. So when the people come to the buyer's house, it's like they've got the security guards there kind of like
Yeah.
watching them. But then the bad guys show up and it's Mike, Will, Jonathan,
Jonathan.
and they have to get out of the house and like into the van with Argyle. But
Hmm.
they did that. They like apparently they rehearsed all day, and then what you see is like the only shot they did
Oh,
of
it's all
that
done in,
scene.
like, one take,
And
basically?
one take, one shot, the
Wow.
camera never leaves. Like you're just seeing the camera just pan the whole time from when the shooting starts to like when they like jump in the van with Argyle and drive off. And they've got
Mhm.
the wounded like guy with them too.
Yeah.
But that it I just think it was very impressive. It's so impressive cinematography wise.
I originally thought the scene where they rescue Steve, that was all one shot. There's one moment where it, like, zooms into a bat and then it pulls up. I think that's
Okay.
where they were able to cut.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. Now I'm gonna have to rewatch that scene and see it because just think one thing goes wrong, one, bullet effects, they have to
Yeah.
start all over again. So that's
Yep.
that's really impressive. Wow, good choice.
Yeah. Thanks. What about you?
You know, it's a little cheesy, but I think it's such a beautiful shot. It's at the end of Dear Billy, right after Max says her iconic line, "I'm still here," and you
Yeah.
hear the instrumental
Oh, it gives me
of
chills.
right chills of running up that hill, and it's the sun setting, and it's just the silhouette of them all holding her. I'm
Yeah.
like, that would make a hell of a tattoo. Like, that's just such a beautiful, beautiful moment that I'm sure we were all in the same state of shock that that had
Yeah.
happened when we first watched it, but it's almost beautiful like a painting. So,
Yeah, it is. And I know I talked about on a previous episode kind of like when I was watching the piggyback and just like my brain chemistry like changed. But
Hmm.
that was another episode. Like I like turned to that episode off and I was just like, what did I just watch? And I immediately, I mean, I understand why that song became so popular because I immediately looked up
Hmm.
that song because I was like, what was that song? And it was funny because it had sounded familiar to me. And it was familiar because right before season 4 of Stranger Things dropped, I was in a really deep hyperfixation with the Vampire Diaries. And
That's
they
amazing.
actually use that song, a cover of that song. Who has the
Is it the
cover?
placebo one?
Yes, the placebo cover of that
Hmm.
song in like one of the first episodes of the Vampire Diaries. So I was like, oh, that's why it sounds so familiar. So yeah.
Isn't that cool? I just love that Kate Bush. I mean, we're going to do our music episode very soon, but I do love that Kate Bush, just kind of was on the top of the charts again and made so much money off a song that she made almost 40 years ago. So you go, girl. Like,
Yeah,
that was amazing.
exactly. And I love that we're kind of teasing a few of our upcoming episodes because
Mm.
we teased the underrated duos, teasing our music episode. We
We
might
got
have
fun
something
stuff planned.
special planned for Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Just stay
So,
tuned, guys. All right. What is your favorite piece of Stranger Things merchandise that you own?
that I own. I mean, I guess it would have to be my Legos.
I thought you were
Um,
going to say that because that's awesome.
yeah. I also really like the flashlight. Why don't we say I'll talk to you in our secret segment at the end about the flashlight and why that's a little meaningful to me. I'm writing
Ooh,
it
okay.
down. But and then also I have some fan art that I have a print of that I can talk to about at the end too.
Ooh, I can't wait.
So I'll say my Legos for now. What about you? You have so much. How could you choose a favorite?
It's hard. Like, usually when people ask me, I go, well, the rock that Brandy got me from Skull Rock, because she was like,
Mm,
what do you want me to bring back for you? Because she's so awesome, because the Stranger Things experience was happening. And I was like, bring me back a rock, because that's me. But I'd say besides the rock, I love my Steve Pops. Those are my babies. And I do love my Chrissy Wake Up arcade game. Just the fact that it like plays the music and lights up. That's pretty cool. But
yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
awesome.
hard. It's like choosing between children. It's
Yeah.
Sophie's choice. But all right, I'm gonna do some quick would you rather. Okay.
Okay.
Battle of Starcourt or Massacre at Hawkins Lab.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, talk about Sophie's choice.
Battle of Starcourt, I guess.
Right? That's so hard. I would lean a little towards God, I don't even know if I could answer. I'd say Battle of Starcourt just because it felt like such a movie, but
Mhm.
Massacre at Hawkins Lab.
I know.
Mwah.
They're both so good. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Master of Puppets or Running Up That Hill?
Running up that hill.
Really? Master of
Yeah.
Puppets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as a music, I mean, maybe as a see, I don't even know. Like, obviously, I love Eddie, so that's a good
Yeah.
moment um in
But
the
would you find
show for
yourself listening
Eddie.
to Master of Puppets more than Running Up That
No.
Hill? There
No.
you
Like
go.
if I was just going to listen to it in the car, like I would listen to Running Up That Hill.
Hmm. Family Video or Scoops Ahoy?
Scoops Ahoy. I think. I don't
Same.
know.
I mean, I love me a video store, but come on, those uniforms? Scoops Ahoy, dude.
Family Video is so nostalgic though. Like I definitely have fond memories as a kid. Again, we're just like true 90s kids in this
Hmm.
episode, but going to the video store with my brothers and my dad on Friday night and getting to like rent a movie. But this is so funny because I'm such a weirdo. I would just rent the same movie all the
Oh,
time.
yeah. Yep.
Like, I was like, why didn't my parents just buy me this movie? And I would rent, I'll cut this out. Maybe
What
we'll
was one of
see.
your, keep
Yeah.
it in. What was one of your
Yeah.
favorites? Tell
But
us.
let me tell you the two movies that I remember hyperfixating on and renting all the time. Andre, the movie about the
With the
seal,
seal? Yep. Hmm.
which I think is actually played by a sea lion in the movie, but
Yeah.
loved that movie. And then Sabrina with Harrison Ford. Have you ever seen?
No, I thought you were going to say The Teenage Witch.
No, it's a movie called Sabrina, and it has Harrison Ford in it. And I don't know why I loved that movie so much.
I'm going to have to look it up now. Now I'm intrigued. Well, you know what's so funny? So I'm currently in the process of selling my VHS collection. Just simply, I'm moving on from it. I've had it for years. And I met this really cool dude. His name was Hunter. Shout out Hunter. He actually fell in love with Stranger Things. I thought it was such a coincidence that I randomly found him off Facebook Marketplace. And he was like, yeah, I'm trying to look for a Camaro like that Billy drives. And he was like, I cut my hair into a mullet, which he really did. And huge Stranger Things fan. He was like, yeah, I just want to bring back the nostalgia of video stores. And I'm like, I think that's why these are so popular. And I know Joe Keery was asked Scoops Ahoy or Family Video, and he chose Family Video because the same thing as us, because we're all
It's
similar
so
in age.
nostalgic. Yeah.
It was a big part of our childhoods, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know, did you know that Family Video was an actual video chain?
It took me a while to figure it out, but yeah.
Yeah, because when I first watched the show, I didn't know that.
Mhm.
I mean, we had like a local video store that wasn't like a chain,
Yeah,
and then there were like Blockbusters. But like my
same.
parents would never take us to Blockbuster because it was too expensive.
Yep. You'd go to the one that you had to be a member of. I remember that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't realize that Family Video was an actual movie chain, but when I was on my road trip, I saw one
That's
in
amazing.
Michigan.
Were you hanging out the window?
It was not open anymore, obviously. It
Damn.
was closed, and I think it was for sale, like the building was for sale, but like we
Mhm.
drove by it and I was like awestruck. I was like, "Oh my gosh."
It's real. Yeah. All right, two more left.
Okay.
Steve's BMW or Billy's Camaro?
Steve's BMW.
Same. I love a
Yeah.
Camaro, but love that BMW.
Yeah. It looks just so generic and like you said, I think you've told me before, like that was like a nice car.
Oh,
But
yeah.
like now you wouldn't think of that as like a nice car.
Like it's a boxy burgundy car, but the
Yeah.
fact that he's driven the same car all throughout the season, which I always wonder, I'm like, man, he must have had an extra set. Because remember when he's like, the car's off the board in season 3, he's like, the Russians took the keys forever ago. Must have had an extra set. All right, last one. Demogorgon or Demodog?
Demodog, Dart, loved Dart.
Same. Same.
Him and his Three Musketeers. He's a big
Oh
fan of
my God.
nougat.
Loved that. The shot of them all dying and him dying next to the rapper. I was like, that is sadder than freaking Bambi. Like that's heartbreaking. The
Yeah.
thing ate a cat live, but I'm like, he's dying near his candy
I know.
wrapper.
I don't understand how I can like Dart when I'm like such a cat person and he literally ate the cat. But like, it's kind of like he didn't know better. Like he was
No, it was a
hungry.
baby. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That was so fun. I think we are done for today. Super fun episode. Thank you so much for listening. Find us on social media at Skull Rock Broadcast. If you're on Instagram, we're definitely most active on Instagram, but
Mhm.
you can find us anywhere. And yeah, let us know what you thought of the show and of this episode.
Bye, guys.
Over and out.
Eric, I'm not sure I love the idea of you driving.
Well, I'm starting to suffer. Harrington's got it. Don't you, big boy?
All right, we are back. Woo! I'm so excited. I have lots of stuff I wanted to talk about today. So
Ooh, I'm
I'll
excited.
go ahead and
Okay.
let you start though. Anything you wanted to mention of things that you've been reading?
So you sent me this either last night or this morning. It had to be last night. And it was my dream come true. It was a Gator Stranger Things, like Fargo Stranger Things mashup.
Crossover. Yeah.
Oh my God. Amazing. I instantly sent it to Brandy. I was like, could you fucking imagine? Like, whoa. So thank you
I
for that.
haven't
That
read
was
it
great.
yet. I haven't read it yet. So
Woo!
I've
That's
heard
all I'm
good
saying.
things though, and
Great.
I'm excited to read it. There's a threesome scene, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you know me in real life, just like tune out for a second. But I mean, my favorite threesomes to read lately, I sent you a few of those too, and I don't know if you read
Mm-hmm.
them, but is Steve, Eddie, and Tommy.
Which
Oh,
who would have thought? Like literally, so that actor, he's also on this like Shudder show called Dead Wax. It was only one season.
ooh, okay.
And he's just a cutie patootie. And even though Tommy plays such an asshole, I kind of like it when he pops up in fics. So whenever there's something going on with those three, especially, I'm like,
Yeah.
woo! So I was so happy you sent me that stuff. I was like, you get it. You're picking up what I'm
Yeah.
throwing down. What have you been reading, girl? Because I know you said you've been diving into some cool stuff.
So my current read is a fic that was recommended by our friend Jen, who is Tell Me a Story. So she sent this to me, and it's called The Most I Could Give to You Is Nothing at All. And it's by Sleeping Off Your Demons. And I'm a, a little less than halfway. I've been really enjoying it though, and I'm going to keep reading it this weekend.
What's it about?
After everything happens, so it's post canon, Steve and Eddie in the summer start hooking up in his basement, but they don't really talk much about it, and
Mm-hmm.
they just go with it. And at the end of the summer, they both kind of move away. Then I'm hoping that they'll kind of get back together. But like I said, I'm only less than halfway through. So still kind of in limbo of what's going to happen there. But it's definitely really fun, and the angst and like the unknowing and that kind of stuff is
Mm-hmm.
is definitely fun to read. And Jen recommended that to me, and she said she had just finished it and really liked it, so I'm excited for that. And she also writes fics too, and I know my first podfic that I recorded was just a really short little holiday story that she wrote, which was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to say that I have recorded another one of her stories, but I haven't released it yet, so I need to finish that and get it released too. So there's a fic by an author that we both really like, Adur, that it's
Yes.
the series. It starts with Ink You Up. That's the first story. There's 5
Okay.
stories in the series.
Mm-hmm.
I think the series as a whole is called Mark My Skin, Use Your Teeth, but it's like the
Ooh.
tattoos. Have you
Okay.
read that? Like Eddie gives Steve a bunch of tattoos.
I've read so much of their stuff. It's blending together. It's all great, but I'll have to look back.
This one, I think one of the tags is like unsafe tattoo practices, because like, I mean, it's smut, man. It's like a very smutty series in the best way, but like,
Nice.
right after giving a tattoo.
I know. I'm always
Um,
blown away when they're like, and then he gave, Eddie a full rib piece, and then they're screwing. And I'm like, ow. Like, I don't know. If you know, you know, guys,
yeah, but it's really good. But so in that fic, they tattoo, one of the tattoos that Eddie gives Steve is a flashlight.
Uh-huh.
So because like, like Eddie hands Steve the flashlight,
Oh my God. I
and
didn't even think about that.
yeah, and then it's kind of like shining their way in the upside down. Like the flashlight is very kind of symbolic, I think,
Love that.
in season 4. So the fact that that author kind of used that as like one of the tattoos that they decide to get, and it kind of symbolizes their relationship, like I love that, and it like made me want a flashlight tattoo.
Hell yeah.
So the fact that I can like own like the flashlight,
I love that you own it. You think of that. I love it.
it's like I don't even think of the show. I think of Steve and Eddie and this fan fiction when I have this flashlight. My favorite fan art print that I've ever ordered is definitely one of my favorite pieces of merchandise as well. And maybe we should, shout out this fan artist again on another episode and
Yeah.
kind of talk more about their work. But it's Nox Arcana art,
Oh my
And
God, they're fantastic.
my favorite piece of theirs, and I actually own it, like a big print of it, is Steve and Eddie in the back of the van. And Eddie has the guitar.
Yes. Yep.
Oh my
I know.
gosh.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. So that was one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite pieces of like Stranger Things steady merch also.
That's the beauty of like Etsy and imprint and stuff. Like you'll actually be able to get prints. Now, this is going down the rabbit hole of some of your favorite stories. They even have candles, guys, based off some of your favorite fics. Like I know that there's a Your Divine candle and stuff.
Yeah. Onion Chiver
Yeah,
has an Etsy shop and they do candles.
I love that they do that. See, that's really cool. And I think that's cool. Like, I'm somebody with like scent kind of brings in like the biggest memories and stuff. I'm a huge candle person, obviously. But they're so descriptive with their words about how certain things smell and stuff. So that's cool that they make their own candles. But the fact that we live in a world where you can almost get merchandise based off your favorite fics, mind blowing, but really, really cool.
Oh, so okay. I think we're pretty much finished.
Mm-hmm.
That was so fun. Can't
was
wait for you to
blast.
listen. Let us know what you think, and we will continue going on this journey together.
Sounds good.
All right. Over and out.
Over and out.